it's always gonna be. We're just so good at choosing sides. Someone loses, someone wins. It's good against evil, shirts against skins. It's us against them. Blue against the gray, the black against the white. Cowboys and the redskins, the left against the right, deep inside the human heart. I bet you're mostly just like me. Still the little ways we differ are all we seem to see. So it's us against them, you against me. That's the way it's always been, and how it's always gonna be. We're just so good at choosing sides. Someone loses, someone wins. Good against evil, shirts against skins. It's us against them. Republicans and Democrats never get along. It's the Christians and the heathens. It's the weak against the strong. And I don't guess we'll ever learn till the final cross is burned. So hard to just be a friend, but it's us against them. Fight about the future and we fight about the past. Build the latest empire on the ruins of the last. Say it's human nature and it's never gonna change. There's always someone else to blame. So it's us against them. It's you against me. That's the way it's always been, how it's always gonna be. We're just so good at choosing sides. Someone loses, someone wins. It's good against evil, shirts against skins. It's us against them, you against me. That's the way it's always been, and how it's always gonna be. We're just so good at choosing sides. Someone loses, someone wins. It's good against evil, shirts against skins. It's us against them, shirts against skins. It's us against them, again and again and again.
One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
where they belong. They handed me a legacy, the benefit of doubt. It kept us all together, but it kept the others out. I don't think it's gonna work out on its own. I don't think it's something better left alone. Here we are, a family underneath the sun, fighting for our dignity, forgetting that we're one. Follow your heart to the top of the rainbow, where all of the colors turn to one. There, understand that we can't live divided. It's here for all of us or none. It's the time of man, it's the time of need. It's time we let our prisoners go. If we free our minds, we can free the world. And all it'll do is to grow and to grow. Yeah, I know how hard it is to see through the world exactly where we live, standing with convictions no one seems to understand. Mother Earth is crying just to see us hand in hand. Follow your heart to the top of the rainbow, where all of the colors turn to one. There, understand that we can't live divided. It's here for all of us or none. It's here for all of us or none. It's here for all of us or none.
Good morning and welcome to All Souls Online Service. We're here with you live if you're watching us on Facebook. The people that are participating are all here live. Some of the music is recorded, but we try to keep this as much about being together as we can. We're in strange times in our land and in the world between the pandemic and the political divisions. We're here because we agree that we need to treat one another respectfully, to come together in some kind of understanding where respect for all and the inherent worth and dignity of all are held up as quite valuable. This is a church that's built on covenant rather than creed. We don't have to all think alike about religious matters to be here. Covenant means that we promise with one another and with our association. As a congregation, we promise with our association that we will behave in these respectful ways and try to do all we can to grow ourselves towards being a bigger presence for justice and peace in the world. So to that end, whoever you are, if you care to be here with us respectfully, you are welcome, always. Though right now I look like I'm in the sanctuary, today for this service, the Southern Region staff of the Unitarian Universalist Association recommended that we stay away from our buildings today. And so I am virtually in the sanctuary, but I'm not there. And you will see that when it comes time for the chalice lighting. I hope all of you are staying safe. I very much appreciate your being part of this, and hope that you will let us know if there's some way that we can be of service to you, and that you will share things that you can do to help our community be together. So in the meantime, I would like to invite our board president to share with us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Barbara. Not the board president, but I am a board member. My name is Steve Nixick. I'm just going to go over a few general announcements for this morning. The adult religious education has resumed normal time, and it should be for the rest of the year at 9 a.m., and that's via Zoom. As far as this Wednesday coming up, we do have Inauguration Day for the Wednesday on the 20th. So the Zoom lunch will still is still planned to go on, but the schedule of it might change. So just stay connected with your Caring Connection, your email, or your Slack channel, and you should be able to find out the details for when that will be. Family Religious Education will be at 1:00 p.m. And you can get the link for that via Slack or the RE Facebook group. And we do need volunteers for the Highland Blessing Dinner. That has resumed on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 6. So we need volunteers to put meals into bags and hand them out to drive-up and walk-up guests. And gloves are provided for that, but make sure that you do bring your mask. And then we do have our weekly meditation with Larry Andros on Saturday mornings at 10:30 via Zoom. And look for your email and stuff for the different links to get a hold of Larry for that. All right. And one last thing, donations. If you haven't got your pledge in yet, please do so. We really appreciate that. And it is much needed to help all of this to keep going. You can do it by paper. You can do it online. And you should see the link in the chat. All right. Thank you.
We will build a land. Thank you so much, Steve. I'm so glad you're here today, and that your family is here today. Thank you. And Steve pretty much hit all the highlights. I will just add, as far as the Highland Blessing Dinner is concerned, we met a couple on Thursday. They drove up in their car, but they got out of their car. They stayed at a safe distance, but just wanted to tell us that it's the first time they ever had to go anywhere for food. That was not something they were used to. He was a truck driver who was just not getting the work that he had been, and it was very moving, and it just is an illustration. There's no telling how many more people that are driving through that are in that same situation, that are having to ask for food for the first time ever. We have a lot of hungry people in our communities, so I encourage you to help out with Highland Blessing if you're not at high risk for COVID. And I encourage you to remember our giveaway, the plate recipient. which is the Northwest Louisiana Food Bank, the Food Bank of Northwest Louisiana, and that link will be in the chat. And I thank Steve Caldwell for being our magic link poster. But the food bank is serving Highland Blessing Dinner and about 150 different feeding programs throughout our area. So they do incredible work, and they can make your money go a lot further than we can make it. It's great when we donate food, but they can really use the money, and they can do great things with it. So I thank you, and that's all I've got.
So thank y'all for sharing the information, and we'll move now towards our congregational sense of worship. We use that word in the Old English roots to elevate and contemplate matters of worth, and there is certainly a lot to contemplate these days. I invite you to take a couple of deep breaths. Let yourself actually arrive here and set aside the stuff that may be pressing on you from all sides elsewise. Give yourself a break for this time we have together, and also try to feel the connection that we are in right now across the airwaves or the internet. Think about the people that you would love to see and be in presence with, who are a part of your circle of friends and this group. And hold them close with your energy and love. Remembering to acknowledge what in this moment we have to be grateful for. What shelter, what freedoms, sustenance, relative good health, our ability to be in communication with one another. We come together this morning to share with friends the tides of our lives, to entertain perennially our hopes for a better future. We join together this morning, as always, to resist injustice and inequality wherever they may be found. Our hearts are touched by the human need we feel around us, whether far away or within reach of our hand. We come here to be together because this is how we believe our lives are best lived. In questioning and in conversation, in compassion and in service, in gratitude and joy, in companionship and in love. It's good to be together with you this morning. In this tender and anxious and confusing time, we've been awash in a sea of information and misinformation and disinformation, and the information that we seek is simply that which will make us have the capacity for wise decisions about how to respond and learn how to hold one another when we can't hold one another. What next will we face? How do we respond? How do we stay together and stick together and worship together when we can't be together? Yet here we are. We are here together. I'd like to invite the Nixick family, and I apologize to Steve for my misintroduction, but I would like to invite the Nixick family to lead us in our children's portion of the chalice lighting.
We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the Church of the Open Mind. This is the Church of the Helping Hands. And this is the Church of the Loving Heart.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, I have to change this so you can see what I'm doing. Remembering the courage of those who before were the bringers of truth and the holders of light in dark times. Remembering the courage it takes to gain new understanding and try to grow in the capacity to grasp the broader truth. Marking our intention to be a people united in strength and compassion, using a spark of hope. We kindle a flame of love, ignite a light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. I'd like now to invite Juan and Virginia Villarreal to lead our unison affirmation.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the sacred. Thus do we covenant with each other.
Brittany, if you will leave those words up for just a second, I want to invite the congregation to now say it aloud. If you did not say it with Juan and Virginia, please take the time to say these words and embody this idea, this ideal. Thank you. Sing along.
Captives for free.
And David, Kate, would you please share with us the time for all ages?
Thank you, Miss Susan. Hi, my name is Ava, and I will read the book Say Something to You today by Peter Hamilton Reynolds. The world needs your voice. Mine? Yes, yours. Go ahead. It doesn't need to be perfect as long as it's from your heart. You don't have to be loud. Powerful words can be a whisper. You can say something in so many ways, with words, with actions, and with creativity. If you see someone lonely, say something by just being there for them. If you see an empty canvas, say something with your brush. If you see an empty lot, say something by planting seeds and watching it bloom. If you see someone being hurt, say something by being brave. Hey, stop! If you see something beautiful, say something with a poem. If you have a brilliant idea, say something with confidence. If you want to show the world who you are, say something with style. If you're angry, say something to help people understand. You made me feel invisible. That really hurt. I'm really sorry. If you see an injustice, say something peaceful. Inspire others to do the same. Sometimes you'll say something and no one will be listening. Keep saying what is in your heart, and you will find someone who listens. Keep saying it, and you may be surprised to find the whole world listening. If you're grateful for being alive, quietly say something to the stars, to the universe. Some people find it easier to say something than others, but everyone has something to say. So when you're ready, say something. Your voice can inspire, heal, and transform. Your voice can change the world. Are you ready to say something? Peter Hamilton Reynolds. As the book showed you some ways you could stand out, I will tell you about the times I stood out and how children and kids like me could stand out also. One way I stood out and said something was when Black kids were being bullied or anybody
was being bullied. I stood up to the bully and played with the victim that was being bullied. Another way I stood up to racism was writing letters to the president to make it right. One way you could stand up to racism is by going to marches and speaking in the marches. Another way you could stand up to racism is by writing to the president like I did. Thank you and have a nice day.
Good morning. For today's meditation, let yourself find a comfortable position. Your body balanced, your spine straight. Begin with a deep, comfortable breath, shifting your attention to your heart space, and imagine breathing in and out of your heart. Allow your breath to deepen and slow. Allow your breath to be soft and kind. In this moment of your unfolding journey, imagine that you are approaching a large circle of people, all surrounding a central sacred fire. People of every age and gender are there. People of every ethnic background, every religion, every orientation and point of view. And all have come to this sacred circle with a lifetime of experience, their hopes and fears, their needs, their questions, and their wisdom. They long to share their dreams for peace and healing and justice, their vision of a world more beautiful for their children's children. And now reflect. I too come to this circle with so much to share, a lifetime of experiences, and a vision that is so precious. Yet I now see that each person in this vast circle sees that central light from a different point of view. Yes, I will share my vision, my needs, my fears, my hopes. It is my gift to give to all. Yet I will bring another gift as well, a gift that builds bridges and offers healing. I bring an open heart, a heart spacious enough to welcome all, a heart soft enough to honor and care for so many ways of living and knowing and being human. A heart clear enough to see the common threads in all our lives and hear deeply our common needs. A heart that has room for a new story of our becoming. May my heart join with the hearts of others to create and sustain beloved community, a place that is safe, that is healing, that is just, a place that protects and nurtures the sacred fire of spirit that we all long to live and share. And centered now in this moment's breath, breathing in, I know my special gifts. And breathing out, I share a space of peace.
Thank you all. This morning, we're celebrating the weekend before an inauguration, when our country has not known division like this for at least 100 years. We celebrate the upcoming Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, someone whose nonviolence taught us so much and brought to our attention a lot of the other teachers of nonviolence from around the world. So this morning, as introduction for the speakers who have agreed to be with us today, and I want to thank all three of them, Tena, Hines, John Ratcliff, Jennifer Russell. They're all three instructors or facilitators in dialogues on race, and they will tell you more about that, I'm sure, in the things that they share with us a little bit later. But to lead into that, I wanted to share some quotes from Dr. King and from Robert Kennedy. Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance or conscientious stupidity. Excuse me. I think that calls us to perpetually be teachable and looking for ways that maybe what we know or think we know isn't quite enough yet, or understand so that it's with our hearts, not just our heads. Men often hate each other because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they cannot communicate. They cannot communicate because they're separated. That's also from Dr. King. And the gender non-inclusive language is a product of the era in which he lived, as well as Robert Kennedy. But again, from Dr. King, man must evolve for all human conflict, a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Robert Kennedy said, "Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence. Yet it's the one essential, vital quality for those who seek to change a world that yields most painfully to change." Each time a person stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Again, ahead of time, thank you, Tena and John and Jennifer. And
You're muted.
Tena, you're muted.
Tena, you're muted.
I thought I unmuted. Sorry. Good morning. When Barbara asked me to speak, I had to resist my intuitive reflex to say no. The story I've told myself is that I'm a better writer than speaker, which probably comes from the fact that I've loved writing all my life. But I shared with my dear friend Holly Brasher that I chose to say yes in memory of my sister and our times when we were living on different coasts, and she employed by the state of California. And I, in my prior life with the federal government, would use the King holiday to catch up and get our talk on. So it's my honor to remember her, as well as my two remaining siblings, who were so instrumental in the person I have become and am still becoming. I don't remember the specific details of April 4th, 1968. Who told me Dr. King had been assassinated, where I was when I found out, who else was around. I was 8 years old. But I do remember fragments of the aftermath. Hearing children at school say, "It was good he was dead." I'm paraphrasing, so probably not those exact words, but likely they were repeating what they had heard at home, unbeknownst to a younger me at the time. Me then writing notes to all of them. I don't remember what I said, but I imagine it was some kind of retaliatory comment from a third grader. My teacher, knowing it was me after 8 months in her class, knowing my handwriting and my being one of only 2 Black children, her response to my actions or theirs, if any, I don't remember. It was my first year at an integrated school. My mother, in her infinite wisdom, decided to remove me from the all-Black Hollywood elementary I'd attended for the first 2 years and enroll me in Caddo Heights. And what I've only recently learned was how Caddo Parish implemented integration by grades. Because I was new and didn't know any of the girls, I ended up sharing a locker with the only other Black child in my class, a boy who lived in my neighborhood and whose father happened to work with mine. I didn't like my teacher there very much, that first teacher. And I can't really put my finger on specific reasons why. But another memory fragment I recall was telling my teacher that I had made straight A's at my last school and her telling me I wouldn't do that there. 50 plus years later, all I have is the words. I don't have the meaning. Because I was raised in a household and at a time where questions by children generally weren't allowed or weren't encouraged. Did she mean no one ever got straight A's in her class because she didn't give them or didn't think anyone could earn them? Was it that she believed the standards or teachers at my old school were different, inferior, or perhaps not as exacting as this school? Did she mean it was something she thought about my ability? There could have been other possible reasons, but suffice it to say, I was not yet my more critical thinking self, where I now would think that she may not have even known what she meant by that. It could have just been part of what she learned wherever she grew up, but I never knew. Those fragments of memories, as well as other experiences in my life, are things I've used to become more curious, to wonder why, and be less judgmental, and to realize at the end of the day, what others say and do is really always about them. It's not personal, and it doesn't have to be, even if that's their intention, unless I choose to make it so. There's another story that year that probably occurred a few weeks later. It was before the end of school. There was a fire, and we were all evacuated to the east side of the campus away from the buildings. But our teacher wasn't with us, and we were all concerned about her safety. I remember comforting several of the girls in my class who I'd not known well enough at the beginning of the year to share a locker with, any of them, but who were now my friends, even after everything we had all been through that year. Fortunately, my early exposure to people of different backgrounds and races was a factor in helping me become more accepting of myself and others. Elizabeth Lesser says something in her book, Broken Open, that helps me to not take what anyone says personally, a key to being able to listen, I think. And that is that we are all bozos on the bus. A friend that I shared that with added that while your bozo may not look like my bozo, it's still bozo, and it's okay. Whatever we each can do to become more whole so that we can see the wholeness in others and offer them the opportunity to be who they really are helps all of us. It's hard work, but I think in the long run, to build the beloved community we can all benefit from, it's very necessary work, and it's worth it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I was pushing the wrong button to try to get my microphone to come on. I'm a lot older than Tina, and I was long past the third grade when Dr. Martin Luther King was killed. And I don't have a lot to say specifically about Dr. Martin Luther King, other than that he was a lot more dangerous than he's advertised as now. And to just use a couple of quick things. I mean, he was much more of a socialist than we think of him. He was much more of an anti-imperialist, and he considered this to be an imperialist country. And I could go on, but anyway, if you think he's just all kumbaya, you need to read more about him. Anyway, building a land, one conversation at a time. I sometimes wonder whether having conversations is what we're even called to do at the present time. Will having conversations even work? Will conversations, even many conversations over time, build a better land? Although I believe that much of what I have to say today is applicable to other longstanding kinds of oppression in the United States, this morning I will focus on building a racially better land, and I will focus even further on building a better land for Blacks and whites. As I see it, conversations of any kind by themselves are not sufficient for building a racially better land, but conversations of some kind are a necessary condition for that building. Why are conversations needed? Here are my thoughts. It will take more than one of us to build a racially better land, and we will need to agree on what we're going to count as better and on what steps we need to take to get there. We live and have been living at least since Bacon's Rebellion in Virginia in 1676 in a racist land. The definition of racism of the late Lerone Bennett, who was born in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and became the senior editor of Ebony magazine, which many of you aren't old enough even to remember. He wrote in a book called The Shaping of Black America, a definition that I think is instructive. This is the definition. In marked contrast to individual prejudice or the justifiable or non-justifiable pride in one's own ethnic group, racism is a political ideology of racial supremacy supported by or even mandated by the focal institutions of society. In other words, racism is not a personal attitude, it is a group structure. It is not simply personal dislike of physical appearances or cultural differences. It rests basically on the concerted determination of a white ruling class to keep some people and their resources exploitable. And this was written in the late 60s, early 70s. The book, the edition of the book that I have, The Shaping of Black America, is in 1974. But these were ideas he had pushed long before that. Contained within this definition are an understanding of racism that depends on a belief in white privilege and white supremacy, and on institutions which permit, support, or require them. Those beliefs. In my view, then, it is necessary that conversations to build a racially better land must include a discussion of white privilege and white supremacy and how our institutions permit, support, or require white privilege or supremacy. Not appearing in Bennett's definition is the need to discuss the relative roles of Blacks and whites in the conversations necessary for building a racially better land. This is sometimes expressed as the need for whites to take leadership from Blacks, but this way of expressing it can be misleading. For example, it doesn't mean that we whites are obligated to do whatever William Barber or the New Poor People's Campaign or any other Black leader tells us to do. Rather, it does require us to genuinely listen to Blacks, any Blacks, including Barber, especially when they describe their oppression and how they recommend eliminating that oppression, and not simply ignoring or discounting what Blacks say because we whites can ignore what they say. We need to listen because we do not experience racism as they do. these topics, which I think are likely to be uncomfortable for a lot of us, they're uncomfortable for me, and I've been bumbling toward having those conversations for about 50 years. I think they're necessary for the conversations needed to build a racially better land. They're needed because we need to understand the poverty of our land with respect to race now. Obviously, these things, there's a lot to say about all of these things that I've brought up, and there's more to say in general about building a racially better land. But that's about all I have time for today. Thank you again.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Russell, and I'm delighted to be here with you this morning. And I'm also very much looking forward to the day when we can all share physical space together again. The time surrounding Dr. King's birthday is always kind of a poignant time for me. And this year it seems even more so because it's falling during a time of recent and ongoing threats, wherein some of our fellow Americans have threatened to carry out violence against our democracy. In the wake of these events, I think we find ourselves more polarized than we've ever been. And before I go any further, I want to make something absolutely clear. I unequivocally condemn white supremacy, and especially the acts of violence that it's recently inspired. As I watched those events unfold, I was scared, angry, sad, and disgusted as I watched our Capitol be breached by those who would seek to overturn a free and fair election. An act which, if it had been successful, would have particularly and disproportionately disenfranchised voters of color. In the continuing wake of these events, I've seen the polarization pull people to seemingly opposite corners. On one side, you have calls for unity, and on the other side, the call for accountability is echoed. As though these are two opposite ends of a spectrum, as though one can exclude the other. There can be no unity without accountability, however. Accountability has to come first. Conversely, if we mete out accountability and it gets us no closer to the unity that we so desperately need, we've missed a very important function of that accountability. True accountability includes legal and criminal justice, of course, but it also includes conversations in which people are held to task for ideas and actions that perpetuate and foment white supremacy, violence, and the dehumanization and othering of people. It's so tempted to shame people for their ideas and actions, especially as we see the harm that can and has been caused. I've felt that temptation, and regrettably, I've succumbed to that temptation myself and used language that dehumanized or shamed other people. But if our goal is behavior change, if our goal is a more perfect union, if our goal is the country and world of which Dr. King spoke and dreamed, shaming others will not get us there. In my work as a clinical and forensic psychologist, I've worked specifically with people who have committed violent and truly horrifying acts, murder, violent assaults, sexual crimes, just to name a few. In this work, I often find myself explaining to people the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is when we feel regret for something that we've done. Shame is when we feel regret for who we are. Guilt is generally a healthy emotion. It drives us to make things right in whatever ways we can, and it drives us to not do those same behaviors in the future. In more than a decade of practice, including with people who have done things for which they absolutely should feel guilt, I have yet to see an instance where shame is healthy or where it helps to facilitate long-term change. I, in fact, have found that the opposite is true. People who are most full of shame are the most likely to continue on those paths of destructive behavior and more vulnerable to radicalization. As tempting as shaming others may be in moments where we're angry and hurt and scared, it's just not effective. And the data from the social sciences are clear that in addition to not changing the behavior of the person to whom we're speaking, shaming and dehumanizing also do damage to us when we engage in those acts. It's a truly lose-lose situation, psychologically speaking. The call to not shame people doesn't mean that we should not stand in opposition to behaviors that harm others. It just asks us to go about it in a way that's most likely to be effective. Speaking truth to power and love cannot include shaming or dehumanizing language. Dr. Brene Brown is a social worker and a prominent researcher on shame, accountability, vulnerability, and courage. She spoke about this on her recent podcast, and if you haven't listened to it already, I would encourage you to do so. Dr. Brown said, shaming and dehumanizing people and holding them accountable are mutually exclusive. Shame is not a social justice tool. It's emotional offloading at best and emotional self-indulgence at worst. There will be no unity without accountability. We've got to find a way to hold people accountable in real and non-dehumanizing ways. Shame and dehumanization kill empathy and accountability. Dr. Brown was also quick to remind us that this doesn't prevent us from using our voices to call out racism and other unacceptable behaviors, nor does it put responsibility for other people's reactions and responses on ourselves. She continued and said, if we hold someone accountable for their actions and they feel shame, that's not the same as shaming them. I'd like to close with a lesser known quote from Dr. King when he said, you're not only responsible for what you say, but also for what you do not say. May we find the courage not to be guilty of silence in support of oppression, and also find the grace to temper our anger and shock and sadness with language that doesn't shame or dehumanize.
What a beautiful balance y'all have brought this morning. Thank you so much. If you know the words to this song, I hope you'll sing along. One, two, three, four.
For a justice to
Are you ready? Whatever it is that focuses your heart and mind on goodness and compassion, the deeper connections and broader view, ground yourself there again and again, because it's from there that our justice work is most effective. Be intentional in this time of shifting sands, where there are shiftless as well as shapers. Be intentional to keep your own energy a positive force, a light that the darkness of fear and hate cannot overcome. I pass this light to you. And I would like to share with you more readings from Dr. King and Robert Kennedy. Again, mindful of the non-inclusive gender language that's a mark of their era. What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence or lawlessness, but love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, and a feeling of justice toward those that still suffer within our country, whether they be white or black or any other description. I added that line. If we're to survive today, our moral and spiritual lag must be eliminated. Enlarged material powers spell enlarged peril if there is not proportionate growth of the soul. This problem of spiritual and moral lag, which constitutes modern man's chief dilemma, expresses itself in three larger problems which grow out of man's ethical infantilism. Each of these problems, while appearing to be separate and isolated, is inextricably bound to the other. I refer to racial injustice, poverty, and war. Nonviolence has also meant that my people, this is Dr. King, in the agonizing struggles of recent years have taken suffering upon themselves instead of inflicting it on others. It has meant, as I said, that we are no longer afraid and cowed, but in some substantial degree, it has meant that we do not want to instill fear in others or into the society of which we are a part. The movement does not seek to liberate Negroes at the expense of the humiliation and enslavement of whites. It seeks no victory over anyone. It seeks to liberate American society and to share in the self-liberation of all the people. And this is extracted from Robert Kennedy again. So I shall ask you, say a prayer for our own country, which all of us love, a prayer for understanding and that compassion of which he spoke earlier. We can do well in this country. We will have difficult times. We've had difficult times in the past. We will have difficult times in the future. It is not the end of violence. It is not the end of lawlessness. It is not the end of disorder. But the vast majority of white people and the vast majority of black people in this country want to live together, want to improve the quality of life, and want justice for all human beings who abide in our land. Let us dedicate ourselves to what the Greeks wrote so many years ago, to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. Let us dedicate ourselves to that and say a prayer for our people. No telling what'll happen this week. Whatever it is, don't let it make you hate. And don't let it disable you. We have to take responsibility. We have to bring the courage of our convictions into the world that we inhabit. May we now be the bringers of truth and light and love and justice. Thank you all for joining us. Go in peace. Ashe, namaste. So be it. Blessed be.